Hello, everybody. It's me, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, and yes, I'm sporting a winter cap, a hat, a beanie, whatever you want to call it. Looked out the window. I'll be shoveling snow a little later. So I decided why not just put out a video, right? I haven't done any Bigfoot videos. I came on 3 articles. And again, don't worry, it's not going to be an hour long, 10, 12 minutes at the most. It's titled Terror in the Woods. Now, again, yes, these are terrifying encounters. Not to suggest it was even Bigfoot, and not to suggest that Bigfoot's even a terrifying creature. But you do need to know this. They're not all the friendly forest giant that we all talk about. At least not all of us, some of us. There's good and bad in all things that God created, or whatever direction you want to take with that. So just listen in and formulate your own opinions. 2 of these 3 encounters you've heard about before, and they're historical events, so I think it's good always to bring that up. And the last one is about something that happened here in the great state of Michigan. This was uncovered by cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman. The report comes from an article called Terror in the Woods, which appeared in the November 27th, 1895 edition of the San Francisco newspaper, The Call, and is a rather dramatic, violent account of several lumbermen who either went missing or were killed in a shockingly brutal manner by some wild beasts in Northern California. The story goes that in November of 1895, a lumberman came out of the wilderness telling stories of missing men and a hairy wild man running amok. The article reads, a lumberman who returned today from the forest in the north of the state brings the most harrowing intelligence of the doings of a wild man in the lumber region of the West Branch. He states that great consternation has been caused, and a large number of lumbermen have left the camps and returned to their cities rather than face the monster. For over 2 months, quite a number of men have disappeared from the camps, and when found, bore the semblance of having had an encounter with some wild animal. Their bodies, in every instance, having been terribly mangled and torn. A lumberman who returned to a camp a little north of this city a week ago startled all by stating that while at work he had been attacked by this wild man, and it was only by the help of his axe that he had been able to defend himself from the murderous attacks. Since that time, he has been seen by the crew several times, but on their approach, he fled into the deep woods with the speed of a deer. He is described as being so nearly like an animal that it almost is impossible to detect him from one. He has a long, shaggy beard and is covered with a huge skin coat. The general belief is that he is a sportsman who has become lost in the deep forest, and after wandering around for weeks had gone hopelessly crazy, and already there have been over half a dozen instances of a similar character in the state. I don't think a human being could run off with the speed of a deer. So yeah, I'm beginning to think that's some sort of animal. I'm not saying Bigfoot. Who knows? 1895. I'm just saying the thing for me that's a key is no man runs like a deer. Here's another report. You guys all know who this guy is. This was in 1892 in a book written by none other than former president and rugged outdoorsman Theodore Roosevelt himself, called The Wilderness Hunter. In one entry in the book, Roosevelt describes the frightening account of a frontiersman called only Bauman, the Great Bauman Encounter. Awesome story. Who was allegedly out with a partner at an isolated area of Montana's Wisdom River to do some trapping. The men made a makeshift camp and went out to trap, and when they returned, found that not only had their packs been ripped open and rummaged through while they were away, but their lean-to also had been destroyed. The men perhaps foolishly decided to stay and merely rebuilt the lean-to and tidied up the camp. And that night, Bauman supposedly was awoken by something crashing through the brush and an oppressive foul stink. Bauman grabbed his rifle and shot out into the night, after which the creature reportedly scampered off. The following morning, the men made preparations to leave, deciding that they had had enough of the strange goings-ons. Bauman allegedly gathered up their traps while his partner went out ahead to set up a new camp further down the river. But when Bauman arrived, he was met with the grisly sight of his friend dead, his neck twisted all the way around with horrific bite marks on his throat. Although this could have been as easily have been a bear attack as a Sasquatch attack, it was probably just meant to be a good yarn. It is a curious account nonetheless. Again, the Bauman encounter, check that out. Great story. You can find it anywhere on YouTube. I highly suggest it. And then we're going to finish up with something here in Michigan. A very bizarre, much more recent report of an alleged attack happened in 1965 in Monroe County, Michigan, which is about 40 minutes from me, when a 17-year-old Christina Van Ecker was driving home one evening with her mother. As they drove, there was a reported loud thud that reverberated through the car and shook the vehicle. Thinking they had hit an animal or a person, they stopped the car to take a look. According to the report, as soon as Christina rolled the window down, a massive arm covered in black hair had then reached in through the window, grabbed her head, and then smashed it against the car door so hard that she was rendered unconscious. It is unclear just how much it had been prepared to push this attack, as Christina's mother's screams seemed to have startled it and it sent it off running into the woods. The mother would claim that it was a hair-covered ape-like beast about 7 foot tall, which had growled like a mad dog. Well, I hope you enjoyed my 3 little short encounter stories. Certainly there's more depth on them if you check them out on YouTube. Thank you for joining. Hey, subscribe to Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. Subscribe to Texas Front Porch. Check us out. 4 live shows each night. One tonight, Monday, we're talking UFOs with the Michigan UFO Encounter and Paranormal Group. Until next time, BMR is out. Have a great day.